Basketball is my life. I have nothing else.
This is incredible. This is the best grateful for I've ever heard.
Shooters. That's what we do.
Shooters, a basketball podcast. Let's go.
Hello. It's just me again. Sorry to disappoint. Let me just let that sink in for a bit. Moment of silence. Jack is not with us again, which is, a bit deflating, but we move on and I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be here, so I hope you are glad that I'm here also. No, Jack's off. He's got a bit of a tooth infection. He sent a photo and he had a very swollen face, which didn't look the best, so you got to rest those things up. Go to the dentist or something. Get that checked out, Jack. Wishing you the best for basketball whenever your next game is. As we get to the business end of the season anyway, these are the ones that matter. The podcast does not, even though I do enjoy it. So Jack's sidelined with a tooth infection. I wish I was recording this at 2:30. If anyone got that joke, good on you. 2:30. It's a brilliant dad joke. I love it. Dad, you'd appreciate that one. I know you're listening. Shout out to you. So what is news in my world? I'm glad you asked. It's always nice talking to yourself, by the way. It's a different experience, but news in my world, just basketball, just family, just work, all the usual stuff. But a highlight, NBL Media launched a new podcast with Mitch Creek and Beck Cole called The Performance Circus. You may have seen it on the socials. I put it up on mine a few times. But it's a cool project. We've been working on it in the background for a while now. So it's a podcast with Mitch Creek and Beck Cole, as I said, diving into basically just performance, like athletes, coaches, anyone that comes from that sort of world, which we all love and we all live and breathe. So just a fun new project. The branding of it is very cool, by the way. I didn't do it. That would be funny if I did. But Mitch actually reached out and got someone else to do it externally. I think his name's Zach. I don't know. It starts with a Z and then it's branding on Instagram, I think. But anyway, you may have seen his stuff. He's a very good illustrator online. Super cool brand. So that one is launched. Another good thing with those type of projects is basically getting episodes in the can before you launch. And we got some very nice guests before we launched. So we got like 5 or 6 ready to go, ready to launch. So that eases the pressure of us, which is nice. But also just, basically lets people know what is to come. So that one's out. That's exciting. But moving right on, I'm going to jump into some NBL things because it's been another big week. Obviously, it always is. And of course, I should say that anyway, pumping up the league. But no, the ending is, we probably say this every year, but the ending for the regular season is once again super tight. And I don't really know what's going to happen, but that's exciting. Even if you have a few teams up at the very top, which you expect to almost go all the way in Melbourne and Perth. Tassie right there. Sydney got the win over Melbourne. Surprising. Well, not surprising. I don't really know. They're kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. They're good. It's very good. They're bad. It's pretty damn bad, but that's okay. Speaking of Sydney, that segues nicely into Sydney getting beat because I told you they were up and down. They beat Melbourne. Before that, they lost to Southeast Melbourne against, let's be honest, it was pretty much like I don't actually know how many players Phoenix had out, but they literally had 5, 6 of their best guys. It might not have been that number, but at least 4 of their best guys out. A few role players as well. And it was kind of weird. Like they just rolled out it's not a new team because the young fellas like Owen Foxwell and stuff still get minutes on occasion, but they played a huge role. Like that whole game, it was pretty much Benny Eyre and Owen Foxwell in the backcourt. Players like Luke Rosendale coming in, hitting a big shot. I remember that one. But it's good to see they got up. You can never tell what's going to happen, but they beat a pretty full strength Sydney team besides from DJ Hogue, but you never can tell what's going to happen. And that one was pretty cool to watch. Oh, Cody Statman, let's give him some love as well. He started, I believe, 16 points. That's a career high in the NBL. One of those guys that I'm just keen to see more of. Like he was with Brisbane last year or 2 years ago or something, but we didn't really get to see much of him. But he shows what he can do. Good shooter, pretty solid, like athlete, just solid all-around player. Always enjoy seeing guys like that do what they do. But the highlight was Creaky. Once again, 2 Creaky moments, actually. One, the dunk on the break. That was very nice. I love a Creaky scream as well. He just kind of let it all out after that dunk on the break. You've probably seen it. You've probably seen – you'll see that vision. It's almost like the dunk over Daly. You'll see the vision of him, not in the terms of the dunk, by the way, just in terms of the vision because it was a very nice scream afterwards. I know I'll be putting that in video highlights that I do. So take that for what you will. But the other part of his game that I very much enjoyed was not the on-court play at all. His post-game interview with Nerily Meadows, I think it was, he almost, I think Nerily literally said to him, like, are you about to cry? Because he got very emotional with just the boys' performance. And once again, he's always a favorite of mine in terms of post-game interviews, in terms of just being vulnerable. We don't really get to see that in many players, but he's one that does it on occasion. And I really do enjoy it. But he was just basically pumping the guys up, especially shouting out the guys that don't really get that many minutes as they did that game, and just basically feeling good for them, saying finally they got a win for those boys. They've been working their ass off in training, all that stuff that you do, all the media pressure in terms of injuries, in terms of, I don't know, what's wrong with their culture, that type of stuff. You deal with all that stuff, and we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So Creaky just basically let all of that out on television for the world to see. So it was cool. Nerily always seems to be in the middle of those interviews, so clearly he's good at her job. Last episode, we covered basically the sexiest players that we think on court, their game, by the way. And Jack, there's actually been a fair few times we've talked about something like this, like our favorite players in the league, our favorite whatever. And he typically brings up Anthony Lamb. He clearly loves his game. He always talks about his post moves, his strength down there. And they played each other over the weekend. And that was just cool to see because, like, when you know someone like Jack has a respect for someone like Lamb, you kind of just, like, look at their matchup a bit differently. And it didn't disappoint. They both almost, I think, led their teams in scoring. They definitely had some patches where they were going basically at each other. Always enjoyable. Just thought I'd bring that one up because I know how much Jack respects his game. DJ Vasiljevic re-signed for 3 years. I thought this was really cool because he obviously came in to Adelaide. It wasn't halfway through the season, but the season had already started. He came in. People didn't really know what he was going to do, whether he'd come in and be like the man on that team, whether he'd come in and, I don't know, be a different version than he was in Sydney. And to me, it's kind of weird. Like it's all about recency bias. So it's like, has he improved much since Sydney? I reckon he has in some ways. I reckon it's just he's more of a focal point, and you can tell he enjoys that, for one, I reckon. Definitely enjoys that spotlight, enjoys that challenge every night, knowing that he essentially has to get his for Adelaide to have a good chance to win. And he's done that to his credit. Like I know sometimes people talk about his shot selection, his field goal percentage, all that lovely stuff we do with scorers. But to his credit, Adelaide have done well. They're sitting, I think, 5th or 6th right now, still in that playoff hunt with a lot of other teams, but credit to him. And I really like that he's re-signed. He could have easily been one of those guys that kind of come in, do 1 year, suss it out a bit, maybe go elsewhere, maybe try the NBA thing again. I'm not sure. Or he could go to a different NBL team, go back to Sydney. But nah, he's like, I'm coming back to Adelaide. I've enjoyed it here. He said in the presser that he just feels wanted. So why not go back to somewhere where you wanted? That's a fair enough point in my eyes. To me, he just wants to play basketball and wants to feel wanted. And if he's got that in Adelaide, you might as well sign on that dotted line. Another one I wanted to touch on was Alex Sarr. He has been sitting on the sidelines with injury, but he finally came back after a few games out against the Phoenix, and he had one of the most impressive games I've seen. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen him play for a while, but it's just his length, his athleticism. He's so solid around the ring as well. I remember early days in the season when he was playing, I was just like, his touch is really underrated. Like it seems like he always gets in a role where you can trust that thing. Those little baby hooks going down. So great game. I think he was like sitting on 5 of 5, 6 of 6 from the floor for most of it. But it was like his defense. He got Cody Statman a few times. There's not many guys in this league that are as tall as him, that can move like him, especially that Euro step to dunk on the break. Like he's just a unique basketball prospect. That's why people are talking about him going number 1 in the NBA draft. And the more I think about it, the more I can kind of see that. Like a lot of those other guys, they're not like raw big men that the NBA loves these days. And with the likes of like Wemby, all those like Paolo Banchero, all these guys like Chet Holmgren right now, that's the thing in the NBA. Like everyone talks about the NBA for the longest time being a guards league, but it's slowly come back. Like not even slowly, really. Like you look at all the talent and there's so many good big men right now. So I can imagine Alex Sarr slotting right in with that mold right now, with that trend. He's just raw. He's got all those things that NBA teams are drawn to. So I can see him going number 1 just because it just feels right, you know. Last but not least, I touched on Sydney earlier. Up and down season, weird season. They're trying for that triple, well, the back-to-back-to-back. Three-peat would be the word for that one. They're trying for that three-peat championship. And one guy that I've really enjoyed from their team is Makuach Maluach. He's just had those moments throughout the season, and he's kind of like an unexpected name. Like, nobody's going to look at that roster and be like, hey, I'm super excited to see what Makuach Maluach is going to do this season, with all due respect, of course. There's just other names where people know of, but Makuach has been one of those guys that he's just come in and done what he needs to do at times, and there's just certain guys that you're drawn to, and Makuach Maluach is definitely one for me. There's just something about him, like even if he's like open on the 3-point line, it might be a shooting form or something, it just looks cool, and he's obviously a good shooter, he can play, so he's definitely been a spotlight, or a highlight, I should say, for Sydney this year, in a bit of a weird one for them. Anyway, hype someone up. I just want to hype someone up. Go on a bit of a rant. Anyone that's caught our attention, just give him some love. Now, this one is good. I promise you no bias here, but Jack. I'm going to hype up Jack because he's just had one of the most consistent seasons, pretty much. And I think consistency is like underrated in a way, because you get so used to it. You see it with the greats like Bryce Cotton and Chris Golding and all those guys that are just like, you see it for that long, that there are times throughout the season where everyone's human. We're all fans. We're all going to be like that in a way, where you just kind of, you almost just they go unnoticed because you're so used to it. And I feel like Jack has fallen into that wagon because he just does it every single game. He's played 24 or 24 games. He started all those games, hasn't missed a game. I'll repeat that. Hasn't missed a game, hasn't not started a game. Averaging 16.3 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game. Tassie are third on the ladder, so they're clearly doing well, even though it's tight there. They're only 12-12. It's not an incredible record, but they're still solid. And he's just super consistent every single game for them. And it's just one of those things, as I said, like if you're consistent, people aren't going to notice you as much. Can we get like a all-team, all-NBL first team or second team or something for Jack? Because he definitely deserves it. Like, he's just super consistent, one of the best Aussie products in the league. I'm sure he'd love this hype up as well. So while the big fella's sitting out, I got to give him some love. I got to let it be known that I'm thinking about him. So that's it for that one.
Wow, this is a negative space. I'm just going to start chucking up random things I'm grateful for.
This is incredible. This is the best grateful for I've ever heard.
Change of pace for the grateful for, I'll tell you that much. It's a bit more of a wholesome one. And forgive me if my voice is lowered a bit, because my neighbor might be able to hear me. But I'm grateful for my neighbor Erica. So she always brings up our bins. It's such a simple thing, but she's elderly. She's a bit older than me and Jess, but she always brings up our bins regardless, and it's just a really nice touch for someone. We just moved into our house, I don't know, a few months ago. She doesn't really know us that well, but every single Friday morning she'll get up earlier than us in terms of going outside. She'll bring our bins up. She started just doing it just like in general, putting it there, but now she puts them in the precise spot that we like them. So thank you, Erica. I don't always say thank you because we don't always cross paths, but very grateful for that. It's little things like that that make your mood much better. So if you're watching, you're not watching, but that's fine. I'm grateful for it. Now I'm going to love you and leave you. That's it. There's only 3 more rounds of NBL left. It's gone super quick. 3 rounds of the regular season, that is. Jack is flying to Cairns, I should say, Thursday. That'll be tonight by the time you're listening to this. So get him, Jack. I hope your tooth feels better. I hope you're no longer looking as fat as you showed me. The cheek, by the way, as you showed me, it was a funny picture. But one of those annoying things that hopefully doesn't impact him on the floor. Or worse yet, hopefully he plays. Like, I don't know how risky that is to go in with a tooth infection or whatnot, but I'm sure we'll see him out there. If he looks a bit different, you know why, thanks to us. That's a wrap. Bye.